Hi there, I'm Dick Miller, and I'm sitting next to Jeff Smith, our senator in this particular region of the state. And I want to say hi and welcome you back again. It's been a couple of months, I think, since we've been together.
It's been at least a month, but it's been a couple of months since the legislature has come together, but there's still things happening.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because last year at this time, nothing was happening. So we're moving in the right direction, we hope. Today, I think we're going to spend time talking about workforce shortage. And this is an issue that the governor has been concerned with. He included some monies in the budget. In fact, some of these monies were from the surplus sitting there, and his goal was to look at child care crisis we have here in the state, as he defines it, paid family leave and medical leave, higher education investments, and workforce recruitment. And all of these topics were included and monies in the budget he proposed, and the legislature decided against these items.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to address these issues and really set the stage for a new beginning here after the pandemic for this workforce shortage. And unfortunately, politics take precedent in our building down there, and they were all stripped out along with most everything else that the governor proposed. But these were so important because not only, and you and I were just talking about, we don't always have to agree. So we don't always have to agree, but this is something that has actually been, these solutions have actually been proposed and endorsed by the business side of things, outside of politics. That yes, help us out. We need to find these ways of recruiting and addressing this workforce shortage. After all, you and I know we're cut from a generation that is leaving the workforce, and we were, I'm a baby boomer.
You're a late baby boomer. I'm an early one.
You're an early bird. I'm a middle of the baby boomers, and we were, a huge workforce that really what really got America rolling in the 60s and 70s and 80s, but we're seeing that generation moving out of the workforce and fewer people taking their place. And we know that was going to happen. We've said this before here and many other places, that then the pandemic really accelerated that process. But what we can do are some of these solutions, and one being the governor has in his budget proposal offered the opportunity for us to use part of some of that surplus that we talked so much about in the past to start some programs, or at least continue some programs. For instance, there were federal money that is running out now. During the pandemic, we got this federal money. The governor put it into what we call child care counts, much of it, because a big part of that problem was the fact that child care centers closed during the pandemic and people couldn't find, and coming back to work, many of them didn't reopen. We lost 25% of the child care centers in Wisconsin. And so one parent had to stay home, or they had to find other ways to address their child care needs so that they could work. That's a huge, huge issue. And I've said that here before and in many other places again, that this was an opportunity for us to take that child care issue very seriously, which before people just took for granted. This is when we could and still could invest some of that money into child care, just like we do for K-12 education, and make sure not only to help that workforce shortage, but to ensure that our kids are ready for school and ready as the next generation to make this a great state and great country. So that's one big piece of this.
Well, it's so interesting that we have what I guess we could call full employment. In other words, we have very few people unemployed, the lowest rate we've had historically, perhaps. And in the process, if these people, these parents like you're talking about, if they can't count on good care for their kids, we're going to lose more people. And as I think most of our viewers have probably seen, there are signs all over in every community, help wanted. And so we have lots of jobs that are going unfilled, including education. And so if we pull more people out of the workforce, we're jeopardizing our economy even further.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, if you have a place of employment where you are provided access, say in a hospital, to daycare right there, you're going to feel comfortable in being at work, and you're close to your kids and so forth.
Well, it's a great morale booster
as
well.
It's a fringe benefit.
Yeah, you want to be there.
Yeah,
exactly. I just had that conversation with an employer. That can you imagine what that would do to morale and the loyalty to a company or whatever you're working, that you want to be there. We kind of had a taste of that when we had our second child, and my wife's a teacher, and she taught in a different place that doesn't exist anymore in Eau Claire. It was called Park School. It was part of the university, actually. And it was for observation for students to come in and things like that. But she was teaching there. But at the same time, they had a child care center in the lower level for all faculty, including the teachers at that school. So we were able to use that. And so I know how that feels and how wonderful that was for my wife to know she could just go to work, drop our daughter off downstairs, go upstairs, work, and then pick her up and even check on her if she needed to during the day.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just it really can make a big difference, just that alone. But again, just the financial part of things and the need for that workforce to come back to work, we need to step up.
Well, there people will say, well, that child care should be the responsibility of the family, and I don't think most of us totally disagree with that. But the interesting thing is, we're in a situation now where there's such a shortage of workers that by not offering this more willingly to our working families, it's going to seriously hurt our economy as people drop out of the workforce. So this is really an important time to give the attention we need to this subject. I should have mentioned earlier, and I apologize, one reason we're talking about this subject or these subjects today is because today is the 17th, I believe, isn't it?
Today,
still the 17th?
Today's the 18th.
18th, okay.
Yeah.
Well, in September, on September 20th, the governor is going to be ordering a special session of the legislature to bring them back to deal with these subject matters. So we're getting our interview and discussion in early, fortunately, so people recognize that this is coming. So these subjects were not completely killed with the budget. This is an open door to reconsider.
That's true. They were killed in the budget, in a sense, but we still have, out of the original $7 billion surplus, we still have a $4 billion surplus that we can work with. Now, this is a grant program, the Child Care Counts. It's a grant program, and I just wanted one more thing I want to add to that before we move on to some of the other pieces of this workforce development package, is that we can't forget that, and I've said it many times, and I'm going to keep saying this, that our human brain development, 90% of that brain development occurs between birth and 6 years old. And that's great if a parent can stay home and be that parent who helps that child move into those years of development, but not always maybe preparing them for school the way they should anyway. But you know what I mean? I think it's great that you can do that, but not everybody can.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, what an opportunity though if we put more investment into the not just child care. It's not just about child care. It's about child development.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being prepared and getting ready and making the best of those times. And socially, you know, a child is with their peers in age groups. All those things can be really important. So I think it's just such a great opportunity for us to invest in something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I know the business world is ready to be partners in that. And we just have to be good partners on the public side of things and the private side of things. Now, there's more to what the governor has proposed and is asking us to consider on the 20th of September. So when you mentioned that, I know that, you know, everybody just shakes their heads, goes, oh yeah, there goes, you know, the Republicans are going to just gavel in and gavel out. And you know, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a month here to contact leadership in the majority party and say, don't do that this time. Because at least have the debate.
Mm-hmm.
What does it hurt to have the debate? That's all we can ask. You don't have to vote for it. You can even amend things. You could cut things. You could add things. This is a proposal. That's what we're supposed to be there for. Let's do that. Let's do our job. That's what I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's more parts to this, and you might want to get into that.
Yeah, there are more parts to this. There is a provision for paid family and medical leave. And obviously the leave could be occurred due to illness, it could be to birthing, and so forth. And this is one of those things that there are a variety of businesses, governmental agencies that offer some of this now. You know, it's not a new concept.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if I may throw some opinion in here, I think, oftentimes when mom or dad or both have that chance to be with that baby for a period of time, they get a good start, and there's a point where parents are ready to go back to work, and they're probably going to be more productive than ever due to the fact they've had that opportunity to bond and have a big hand in the positive startup of that
Right.
child's life.
Yeah.
And obviously, sick leave is something that we need to offer people. We don't want sick people at work. You know, we were just visiting here a few minutes ago on how COVID has become it's kind of coming back a little bit due to the season to some degree maybe, and we don't want people who are struggling with COVID to bring it to work with them. We want people to feel they have an opportunity to go home, recover, become healthy, then come back to work.
Yeah, and I think you're coming around to the other big one that I really, really think is important here, and that is the paid family medical leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a part of another opportunity for us to, this would be a startup. Because the paid family medical leave program that we have introduced, and I've been an author of in previous sessions, it would be a program that is self-sustaining, and it's a payroll deduction that goes into a pool, just like Social Security or Medicare or actually workman's comp, and you only apply for it or use it up to 12-week leave if you need to take care of a parent, if you need to take care of a child, or you're ill yourself. You have an opportunity to have it's like an insurance policy that you've invested in, and it's your money. We need to invest. We need to get it kicked off though, because of course there's no money there to start with.
Sure.
So we need that startup money, which we have right now. The opportunity to do this right now with the surplus. We wouldn't use this whole package, by the way, that we're talking about, only uses 25% of that surplus that we are talking about. So we can do much more. In fact, do what the Republicans want as well, is another tax cut. They want to do a tax cut, fine with the rest of that, but let's take 25% of it and make that investment now in these programs.
Yeah, I think the concept is new, obviously, in Wisconsin. It would be new here. And, but boy, what a important thing would be to a family, I would think, and all ages, just for example, a person who's 60 years old who has a parent who's struggling.
Yeah.
And if they could get away long enough, productivity is affected so strongly by the state of mind we're in. When we go to work, if we're constantly worrying about something, productivity goes down the tubes.
Yeah. And when you mentioned it's new to us, yes, it would be new to us, but it isn't new to other states. Minnesota has started this program. That's not far from here. And if people have a choice to make, and they're going to say, well, I'm going to work in Minnesota where I know that I have these safety nets that I can depend on. And so we're in a business of competing. I wish we weren't. I wish it wasn't always that way, but we have to compete.
And I think everything we're talking about today, as I mentioned earlier, the child care crisis, family paid leave, higher education availability, workforce recruitment, all of these issues are competitive. Yeah. And obviously you're right on, spot on that, if the area or state or whatever it may be that offers good support programs for working families, why wouldn't a person look there first? We're constantly, especially now, we're searching so hard for qualified candidates for so many positions.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle.
Yeah. In fact, you and I were talking about the other parts of this too, that like you mentioned already, workforce recruitment.
Yeah.
Which is another piece of this proposal that the governor has. And like I said again, what's wrong with having this consideration on September 20th and beyond? Don't close it down. Let's just open it up and have these conversations. This is a starting point. So workforce recruitment part his plan includes $100 million to continue the Workforce Innovation Grant Program, which offers regional organizations to design and implement their own plans to address their healthcare related workforce challenges. And as we all know, we've got issues with EMS shortage, with nursing shortage. We're closing down hospitals, or even just turning some hospitals into just regional emergency care facilities, but not your daily care. And we need people to have the opportunity to reach their healthcare facilities when they need to.
Well, I think an example right here in Trempealeau County, the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center, due to the shortage of staff, and this, by the way, is probably throughout the state, but due to the difficulty in finding the qualified candidates to work in the facility, had to close down part of their program. And then have kind of slowly reopened some of those programs when they've been able to staff these facilities. Yeah. So it is a real struggle. But that's true with our local hospitals as well. It's covering all the shifts. Yeah. It is a real struggle. And the region, I don't know how many regions there are in the state, but the region that serves this area applies for these grants. And they work hand in hand with local businesses to try to formulate plans, policies, programs that will meet the needs, future needs of the employment needs in the area. So these grants are basically whatever that area is needing. It's not a one size fits all. Yeah,
you're right. There is just so many needs. And you can kind of connect the dots of the things we're talking about. for instance, you mentioned that already about people going to work, but they're worried about their family. Could be their children, but it could be their elderly parents. It could be their spouse or partner. You really don't want them to have to worry about them. You want them to focus on what they have to do during those 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever time they're at work, and knowing that things are taken care of. So connect the dots. We talked about childcare, but let's talk about elder care. That's also part of this program. You think, what does that have to do with workforce development? Well, again, going back to, for instance, in between all of that is that 12-week potential family medical leave. You could maybe take care of those issues in 12 weeks, but maybe not. Maybe you need an opportunity for your elderly parents to go into a facility where they're taken care of, and you know that they're taken care of. But it shouldn't be an hour or 2 hours away from you. That's a huge issue, right? Now, so all these facilities have closed down in small towns, and people are having to move their elderly parents to places that are a long distance away, and it just adds more pressure and concerns, and people choose in some cases, maybe I'm just going to stay home and take care of my parents and not work. It does have something to do with it. So that's part of this package as well, to invest into these elder care facilities.
Absolutely. I might mention that Blair school system, out of necessity, I think, chose to open up a daycare center. And I think Whitehall School is in the process of working that plan up too. And to have the convenience of having something located within the community, just like you're saying, you're close by. You don't have to drive an hour to take your child or an adult to a daycare center. So this would certainly save them time, and it would relieve them a lot of the pressure that would exist. The last area that the governor's suggesting is higher education investments, and it looks like this would be substantially to both the university system and the Wisconsin Tech system. And I might mention again, the Wisconsin Tech system, I know for one, works closely with employers in their area, and again to see what they need, what their students need to prepare themselves for the jobs, and so again they're working hand in hand. It's just not making work for the university. It's making, if it is, it's to make work that will pay off in the long term, that will benefit. And we had talked previous, and I'm sure several times, that the price of higher education has gone up so drastically. And one of the provisions, the way it looks here, is that there would be more assistance with grants and aid for students attending these programs.
And they need that. They need that for sure. And our tech schools, which have been a lifesaver in some ways, Chippewa Valley Tech and Western Indian Head Tech, they have been amazing in doing their job, but they also, the reason they are amazing is because they've been able to be flexible. And when employers, because we have fast changing times, and the jobs that they have trained people for are constantly changing, and so they have to change with it. Employers are begging for that, and also working with them, like you said, to guide them. And this is the job element that we need, and we need people trained in it, and then they invest in it, but we have to invest in it as well. Another part of that, though, is also the engineering school in Madison, which was killed in the budget. And a lot of professionals are really upset about that, because we need to keep our engineers here in Wisconsin, train them and keep them here in Wisconsin. Now they're looking elsewhere. Purdue, University of Minnesota. Once we lose them, do we get them back? Not so often, and we need to continue to be a leader in the country in training the highest professionals in all of these fields, including civil engineering, and all the engineering programs that they actually are trained in.
So what you're suggesting is that, excuse me, you're suggesting that due to the program, perhaps cuts or whatever, that there won't be the slots available to train people within the state.
Well, there was as we fortunately here in our area, UW-Eau Claire got the final monies they need to build the science building there. That Mayo is also going to be a partner in. That's really great for us, and that's especially also linked to the healthcare part piece of it. But in the budget also was the engineering building in Madison, which was going to be either expanded or built anew. I'm not quite sure. It was a lot of money, for sure. But the the construction industry, architecture industry, all the engineers in the state were begging for that, because there's a lot of modernization that needs to take place. They needed the expansion they saw in what they know, that we needed to keep up. And unfortunately, it was cut, like I said. But again, we have the funds, we have the ability to do that, along with these other things. And it's only 25% of the surplus that we have in front of us. So I still say, let's just have that conversation and let's figure it out.
Well, I think just to maybe summarize, we're coming close to the end. Again, just a reminder to everyone who's perhaps viewing, the governor is calling the legislature back into session on September 20th. And the primary focus, or the focus evidently, is workforce shortages. And like I say, anyone who's been driven around Wisconsin, Minnesota, or wherever has seen signs all over, because there is a really serious shortfall of employees. And they're going to be looking at the governor's request for more funding for child care, for family paid leave, medical and family paid leave, higher education investments, and workforce recruitment. So the viewers out there, if you're interested, as you suggested, Jeff, contacted the powers to be in the legislature and encourage them to give it a fair debate. Yeah. I think you're not saying give the whole thing. Just take time to debate it.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate your attention to that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us today. Good day.